It was mainly about technology to start with, actually. It would be possible to do these things, and not so much focus on why, what should you use it for. Because the laptop was barely invented and the smartphone didn't exist.
Operators at that time were pretty pleased with what they had with GSM.
There was not really a vision of what the wireless data could be. We were still in the process of building out our network, so having consistent capability, consistent access, that we were very focused on voice.
The view that data is important has always been there. What it should be used for, we didn't have any clue, really.
This is a cork that we popped when IS-99 was published, and that represented the first data service on CDMA. In April of '94, I'm reading on the cork here.
When it started what we today maybe call mobile broadband and mobile data, it was when I started working with the 3G standardization. And that was back in fact, in 1991. This will not happen. It takes 10 years before you get feedback, really. And see if somebody buys it. Then you have to maybe be a little bit crazy.
Because we had to convince people everywhere in regulation and everywhere that this was something that could actually be big, and that it was possible. And the more people you got on board, the more momentum you got, and you got an internal momentum, and you got an external momentum, and started to build a vision. It was really exciting.
The internet came around at that time.
Will internet be good enough to build a communication service on, or is, because that was not obvious. Now it sort of sounds like a stupid question.
So then, of course, we realized that this is going to be a big thing.
You start to realize these amazing capabilities of wireless connectivity that you could never do before. And so that's a very, very exciting time.
When we first started looking at data, we first started to look at it really seriously in the mid-90s, is when we thought it was going to really start to take off. But what we found was there were three components that were really important to have in place to have mobile data work. Those components were obviously a network that had the capability of connecting for speed and capacity. Second were devices that actually had provided user functionality, kind of the experience, if you will, screens and so forth. And then the third were services and apps. And what we found in the mid-90s that we didn't have any of the three. The capabilities just weren't there for data to expand.
The first time when you really started to talk about mobile broadband was when we started to look at 3G, or IMT 2000, that it was defined by ITU.
Somebody said 3G is going to be significant. You're really going to bet on it. And I said, what is it? And they said, girls, games, and gambling. Then everybody spoke about VAP back then. So everybody was talking about it. Everybody was seeing the future in it, but nobody was using it. And there weren't any WAP phones. So the abbreviation was, where are the phones? And nobody could configure their own WAP phone.
So of course it was very complicated to use, and that didn't help the matter, but it was the only way to do it with those low data rates. When we started in the early 90s, it was like 1 kilobit per second.
There were people even saying back when I was fighting for 9.6 in the GSM that nobody would need more than 2.4 ever in a mobile channel, 2.4 kilobits per second.
But we always felt that it's never fast enough, it's never fast enough, it's never fast enough. And then you start to understand that nothing's fast enough. You always need to go faster.
Unplug. Let's rethink mobile broadband.